So, Doctor, were you convinced it was a suicide?
Well, of course. I couldn't see how anyone could have gotten out of the room after killing her. It seemed only logical that she had done the deed herself.
Of course, Holmes doesn't always see things the way most people do.
No, he rarely does.
So, it sounds like he's going to take a rather direct approach. Just asking Brian how he did it.
Yes, sometimes that's the best method.
Yes, it is. Which is why I'm going to use the direct approach to tell you that the Watson Files is still not sponsored.
Is that so?
Yes, but I'm confident that there is a company out there that would love to take advantage of this great advertising opportunity for very little investment.
I'm sure there is. Remind me again how such a company would go about sponsoring the Watson Files.
They simply go to thewatsonfiles.com and click on the sponsor link.
That sounds easy enough.
It certainly is. Now, let's get back to tonight's adventure. Officer Weathers was accompanying you and Holmes to Brian's apartment, I believe.
Yes, I got his address from Jenny, and the three of us went directly to his place. It was only a few blocks away, and when we got there, we found Brian was home.
Brian, nice place you've got here.
Yeah, thanks. You said I needed to identify something?
Oh, this'll just take a second. I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
How'd you get out of the room?
What do you mean?
After you killed her.
Killed her?
I mean, the door was locked from the inside. I gotta admit, even I can't figure this one out.
You think I killed her?
Brian, come on, give it up. You're caught.
What are you talking about? I loved her. I would never do anything to hurt her.
Okay, if that's the way you're gonna play it. So when was the last time you saw her?
Couple of days ago.
Really? Well, then how come we found your fingerprint on the key to her room?
I was her boyfriend. I've been to the apartment a few times. You don't think my fingerprint could be on the key?
Nope. You see, she just had a new lock installed yesterday. Same design as the old one, but it takes a different key. So if you haven't seen her in a couple of days, how'd your fingerprint get on the key?
She did what?
Yep, probably because she was going to break up with you, and was worried you might have a copy of the key. It's all in her diary.
Where are you going?
Hold on. I'll be right back. Stop!
Gun!
Missed him. Dispatch, this is 386. I've got a suspect on the loose in the 300 block of Grand. He's armed and dangerous. Request...
Watson, do you have your revolver?
It's in the car. Why?
Good, let's go. We'll have to hurry.
Holmes, do we really have to hide in the closet?
Shh, he'll be here any minute.
What makes you so sure he's even coming?
Looking for the diary?
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
You can't hold me here. You're not the police.
True, but we do have a gun, so I'd say you might want to listen to us. Now, you're clearly guilty, but I'm curious. How did you get out of the room?
You're the great descendant of Sherlock Holmes. Couldn't you figure it out?
I must admit, you've stumped me.
Was pretty simple, really. I tied a string on the end of the key, ran the string under the door into the room, and threw the keyhole back out into the hall. I simply locked the door from the hallway, then pulled the string, taking the key under the door and into the keyhole on the other side. A sharp tug and the string broke.
Very clever.
And that way everyone would see that coward for what she really was. Yes, well, now you're under arrest. Thanks for the call, Doctor.
No problem. Although I would have preferred to just shoot him.
Let's go, buddy.
I must say, Holmes, that was quite amazing. I assume Officer Weathers told you about the fingerprint, but how did you know that a new doorknob had been installed?
It hadn't, and the officer didn't tell me about any fingerprints.
I'm afraid I'm lost then, old friend. What was all that you were telling Brian about earlier?
A bluff. I decided that he was the likely murderer, as he had the most obvious motive. He clearly had to have used the door to exit the room. The only issue was the key. I assumed that the answer would be revealed if we could convince him he was already caught. and there was no use hiding the truth.
Well, it certainly did work.
Yes, it did indeed, although with quite a bit more excitement than I had anticipated.
Well, Dr. Watson, that sure sounded like a difficult case. Even Holmes was stumped for a while.
Yes, but as always, he got the answer in the end.
He is good at that, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
I hope your niece is doing okay.
Oh, yes. She's better now. Though it was quite the traumatic experience for her at the time, thinking her friend had committed suicide and then finding out she was murdered.
I can imagine that would be quite unsettling.
Yes, it was.
So, have you got a new adventure picked out for next week yet?
Next week, I'm going to tell you the story about the time my good friend Spencer nearly died.
Well, that's a switch. Normally you're investigating someone else's death.
Yes, it becomes a little more personal when it is your own murder you are to investigate.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing that one next week. Tonight's Watson Files Adventures was written by Scott Strosahl. Spencer Holmes and Dr. Watson were played by Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger. Additional voices were performed by Steve Rampici and Stacy Freedy. This is Craig Dallin saying good night from Strobe Studios.